The rope burned her skin long before it stole her breath. It scratched like dry thorns against her throat, pulling tighter each time the wind shifted. Each time the men laughed and shifted their boots in the red dirt below. Her toes scraped the bark of the broken stump beneath her, splintered and jagged, like it had been waiting for this moment, like the land itself had sharpened its teeth. Dust rose in pale clouds around her bare feet, clinging to her skin, sticking to the tears she tried not to let fall. She would not give them that. Not now, not at the end. Above her, the tree creaked under her weight, old and scarred, its thick branch stretched like an arm that had long ago forgotten how to comfort. Cotton-white blossoms trembled near her hands as she clung to the rope, her fingers numb, her arms screaming, her lungs already beginning to ache. Someone had carved justice into the moment with hatred, and they called it law. She was called worse. A half-blood. They had spat it like poison, like the word itself was reason enough to end a life. She had been born between worlds. Her mother from the people who knew the land before fences. Her father a drifter who never stayed long enough to teach her how to belong. That in-between had followed her everywhere. Too native for the townsfolk, too white for the camps. Too much of everything they feared and nothing they wanted to understand. When food went missing, it was her fault. When cattle wandered, it was her fault. When sickness came, they looked at her as if her blood carried curses. And now, when fear needed a body, they chose hers. Her name was Elena, though no one here bothered to say it. "She don't deserve air," one man muttered, tugging the rope higher around the branch. "She ain't even fully human," another replied, laughter cracking through his words. Elena shut her eyes, not to pray. She had learned long ago that prayers spoken aloud only gave others permission to mock, but to remember the smell of rain on hot earth, her mother's hands braiding her hair by firelight, a song whispered in a language the men below would never bother to learn. If this was to be her last moment, it would belong to her, not to them. The rope tightened, her body lifted, her breath fractured, and then a sound cut through the desert like a blade. Hooves, slow, heavy, controlled. Not panic, not rush. Authority. The men froze. Even the wind seemed to hesitate. Dust drifted as a grey horse stepped into view, its coat pale against the red earth, muscles moving with quiet strength. The rider sat tall, reins loose in one hand, the other resting near his saddle horn. He wore a wide-brimmed hat pulled low, shadowing eyes that missed nothing. His vest was worn but clean, his sleeves rolled, forearms strong and scarred by honest work rather than cruelty. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He simply stopped. The silence pressed harder than the rope ever had. "What's this?" he asked. His voice was calm, deep, and utterly unafraid. One of the men scoffed. "Ain't your concern, rancher. This here's justice." The rancher's eyes lifted, not to the men, but to the woman hanging from the tree. He saw the rope biting into her neck, the blood smeared along her collarbone. The way her hands trembled, not from fear, but from pain she refused to show. Something in his jaw tightened. "Justice," he repeated slowly. "It looks more like murder with an audience." Another man stepped forward. "She's half-blood. Stole food. Brought trouble." Town agreed. The rancher dismounted in one smooth motion. The horse shifted but stayed, dust curling around its legs. The rancher took a step closer to the tree, eyes never leaving Elena. "She steal food?" he asked. "Well, she bring trouble?" "She—" He looked back at them now. "Which one of you saw her do it?" No one answered. The rope creaked again as Elena's strength began to fail. Her vision blurred. Black crowded the edges. She felt herself slipping, not into fear, but into something quieter, acceptance. The rancher moved. In 3 strides he reached the tree, knife flashing from his belt. The blade cut clean and fast. The rope snapped loose. Elena fell. He caught her. Dust exploded as they hit the ground, his body taking the weight, his arms locking around her before her skull could strike the stump. She gasped. A roar, tearing sound, air flooding back into lungs that burned like fire. She coughed, choked, clawed at his vest, and he held her anyway, firm and unyielding, like the earth itself, refusing to let her be taken. Someone shouted. Someone cursed. The rancher looked up, eyes cold now. "She's alive," he said. "That don't change." His arm tightened around her shoulders. He pulled her closer, shielding her with his body, his presence daring anyone to test him. "She's mine," he said. The word fell like thunder. Not ownership born of cruelty, but a claim of protection, so absolute it left no room for argument. The men backed away. Elena barely heard them. Her world had narrowed to breath, to warmth, to the strange, steady heartbeat beneath her ear. She did not know this man, did not know why he had stopped, did not know what mine meant in a world that had never claimed her before. But as consciousness faded, one thought held fast. For the first time in her life, someone had chosen her.